Hello my gorgeous friends of Webflow, it's your friendly neighborhood Francesco from Subasaido here. Today we're going to take inspiration from one of the most iconic product animations ever made. I'm talking about the scroll triggered animation from the original AirPods Pro landing page by Apple. If you don't remember it, it's that smooth sequence where the AirPods rotate and catch the light as you scroll down. No videos, no WebGL, just a brilliant image sequence. Apple used 147 individual frames extracted from a roughly 6-second animation to create the illusion of a perfectly fluid movement. Those frames were served one by one as you scrolled, making the experience feel dynamic and interactive. And yes, they did all that without a single video tag. Now, here's the thing. There are a bunch of tutorials out there that promise to show you how to recreate this effect in Webflow. But almost all of them use a Lottie animation that you already have, and none of them actually explain how to recreate this effect, the original one, the Apple one, from scratch. In this tutorial we're not taking shortcuts. We're going to extract the frames from a video, upload those frames to Webflow, learn how to retrieve their URLs without copying them manually one by one, and finally recreate the entire scroll-based effect using GSAP ScrollTrigger. We'll also explore how to use Webflow's API in the simplest possible way to access the assets you upload, even if you've never touched an API before. And I'll give you a reusable method that works even outside this specific project. And of course, all of this will be wrapped in a no-code friendly setup. No code editing, just HTML attributes as always. So if you're looking forward to it as much as I am, stick around, and if you find my video helpful and want to support my work, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. But now, if you're ready, let's dive in. To demonstrate how to recreate this effect, we're going to use a video that, if you've watched more than one video on this channel, you're probably very familiar with already. It's the Subasaido logo animation, the one that plays at the beginning and end of every video I publish on YouTube. Now, this animation is about 6 seconds long, which, fun fact, is more or less the same duration as the AirPods Pro animation we mentioned earlier. And that's not just a coincidence. A video that's around 6 seconds long is kind of ideal for this kind of effect, because it gives us enough visual progression to create a smooth scroll-linked animation, but it also keeps the number of images under control. In our case, we're going to extract about 150 frames, which, yeah, isn't exactly nothing, but it's totally manageable, especially with the right tools. And speaking of tools, to extract the frames, we're going to use a free online tool called Video Frame Extractor. The link is in the video description, but for now, let's go to frameextractor.com. All we need to do is click the big Choose File button and upload our video. Once uploaded, the page gives us two parameters we can adjust before starting the extraction. 1. Number of frames. This is the total number of frames we want to extract from the video. 2. Distance between frames in milliseconds. This controls how often a frame is captured in milliseconds. Let's break that down a little bit. If your video is 6 seconds long, that's 6000 milliseconds. Then you can use a frame rate reference of 24 FPS, which gives you 6 times 24 equal 144 frames. The distance between frames will then be 6000 milliseconds divided by 144, which is roughly 41 milliseconds. But let's use 40 for simplicity. Just keep in mind, the tool will extract frames at the same resolution as your video. And if your video is high res and includes transparency or complex motion, the extracted frames might be quite heavy. So here's a quick tip. If you're preparing the video yourself, either exporting it from After Effects or any other animation tool, try to keep the resolution reasonable. Actually not really the case for the video I'm using, but yeah, that's okay. Something like A 1920 by 1080 is more than enough in most cases. And unless you really need transparent backgrounds, avoid exporting to MOV with alpha. Once you've set the parameters, click Extract and wait a few seconds while the tool processes the frames. When it's done, click Download All to save the frame sequence to your computer. And now let's take a quick look at the folder we just downloaded. As you can see, even though the animation is pretty simple, the frame files, which are in PNG format, are not exactly lightweight. That's because of the high resolution. But don't worry, we'll compress everything before importing it into Webflow. Alright, now that we've extracted our 144 frames, it's time to do a little housekeeping. First of all, if you're thinking, why not just upload them directly to Webflow? I totally get it, but hold on a second. There's a little quirk you should know about. If two images are visually identical, even if they have different names, Webflow might silently discard the duplicates during upload. And this can happen quite often when your video has static frames, for example at the start or end of an animation. To avoid this issue and also to reduce the total size of your assets, we're going to compress the images before uploading them to Webflow. We'll use a free tool called compressimage.io, and it's perfect for our use case because it lets you compress a large number of files at once, it keeps the original file names, and it doesn't force you to install anything. It all runs in the browser. So, let's head over to compressimage.io. Drop in all your frames, yes, all 144 of them, and the process usually takes just a couple of minutes. When it's done, click Download Zip to get your compressed images. And now let's finally head to Webflow. We're going to upload all the frames into the Assets panel. Once they are uploaded, click Expand Panel, then click Select, choose All Assets, and hit Compress Selected Assets. From the format options, choose AVIF. That's the one we want. Webflow will now recompress all your images on its end, potentially giving you even smaller file sizes than the PNGs we just optimized. This step takes a few extra minutes, so stretch your back, hydrate, and let Webflow do its thing. Once that's done, we're going to create a folder inside the Assets panel. Let's call it Frames, and move all our images into it. But why? Because when we later used Webflow's API to fetch the list of image URLs, this folder will help us isolate just the frames, instead of mixing them with all the other assets in our project. By the way, let's keep in mind that the name of this folder must be frames. Otherwise, the custom solution we're going to use to extract the URLs of the images won't be able to do its job. But now comes the real question. How do we get the URL of each image without manually copying 144 links one by one? We've already mentioned it, but anyway, you might think, can't we just guess the URL? All Webflow images have that HTTPS, CDN, prod, website files, blah 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 prefix, right? And yes, part of the URL is predictable. It always starts with https cdn prod websitefiles.com followed by your site ID and then a unique image identifier. But here's the catch. Even if your image is called 0001.png, Webflow renames it on upload and you'll get something like this. Only the part after the underscore, in this case 1, is the name you gave the image. The rest is automatically generated and completely unpredictable. So, unless you want to copy and paste 144 URLs manually, we need a better solution. This is where the Webflow API comes in. With just a couple of simple steps, we'll fetch a list of all assets in the project, filter out only the ones inside the frames folder, and finally, extract the URL of each image in the correct order. Don't worry, we're going to do this without writing any code, and I'll give you a ready-made tool to help you along the way. So let's move on. Before we can generate our final list of image URLs, we need to tell Webflow which images we're interested in. And the way we'll do that is by asking Webflow, hey, can you show me all the folders inside my assets panel? So let's go over to developers.webflow.com. Scroll down to the section titled Custom Integrations and click on Explore APIs. Now, in the left sidebar, scroll down until you see the Assets section and open the menu called Asset Folders. The endpoint we're interested in is called List Asset Folders. It lets us get a list of all folders inside our project's assets panel. And more importantly, it includes the IDs of all the images contained in each folder, which is exactly what we want. As always, this interface might look intimidating at first glance. Lots of buttons and technical terms, but don't worry. We only need to copy one simple line of code. Right below the section title List Asset Folders, you'll see a URL that looks like this: API webflow.com v2 size blah 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 asset folders. So to start with, let's copy this string. This is an API call. We're basically telling Webflow, give me the list of all folders in this project and show me which assets are inside each one. Now technically, we could make the recast directly here inside the API Explorer. But in the next step, when we'll recast the full list of assets, this tool won't be enough. We'll need more flexibility, so we might as well use the right tool from the start. This tool is called Postman. So head over to postman.com and click Sign up for free. I'm using my Google account to register, so feel free to do the same. Once you're in, you'll see a dashboard, and we really don't need to know anything about it. Just go to the homepage and then under the Get Started section and click New Recast. Now, in the input field, paste the URL we copied earlier, the one that ends with Assets Folders. At this point, we're just 2 small steps away from sending the request. Step 1. Replace site ID. In that URL, site ID is a placeholder. We need to replace it with the actual site ID of our Webflow project. To find it, go to your Webflow site settings. Scroll down to the Overview section and copy the value labeled Site ID. Paste that value into the URL in Postman, replacing Site ID. And now step 2. Add your API key. We've told the API which site we want to access, but we haven't given it permission yet. To do that, we need to generate an API token, a kind of special password that lets us read data from the project securely. Go back to your site settings and this time click on the Apps and Integrations tab. Scroll to the API Access section and click Generate API Token. Give it a name like Read Frames, and then under the Assets drop-down, choose Read Only. We're not modifying anything, we just want to read. Click Generate Token, then copy the token value. Quick tip now, this token gives access to your project's data, so don't share it publicly. It's a bit like handling out your admin password. If needed, you can always revoke it later and generate a new one. Now, back in Postman, go to the Authorization tab. From the type drop-down, select Bearer Token, paste your API token into the field. That's it. Click Send, wait a second, and boom! You just got the full list of asset folders inside your Webflow project. The response is in a format called JSON, and even if we don't need to understand everything in it, there are a few key things worth noting. Each folder has an ID. Each folder has a display name, which is the name you gave it, like frames. And each folder includes a list of asset IDs, one for every image inside that folder. And yes, that's exactly what we need. Now, what do we do with this information? Easy. Just click the copy response button in Postman and paste everything into the input field inside the custom tool I built for this tutorial. That tool is included in the clonable Webflow project linked in the description below. Once we've done that, it's time to get the rest of the puzzle, the full information about the assets themselves. So let's go. Actually, this part will go even faster because we've already done most of the setup. This time, we don't even need to go back to the Webflow API page, because the API call we're going to make now is almost identical to the one we used to list the asset folders. We just need to change one word. And anyway, even if we wanted to use the API Explorer, it wouldn't really help. And here's why. When you ask the Webflow API to return the full list of assets in your project, it only gives you 100 items at a time. If you've got more than that, like we do, you'll need to include a special parameter called offset, which tells the API to skip the first 100 items and return the next batch. But the API Explorer doesn't let you do that. So let's go back to Postman, the tool we used before. In the recast input field, just replace the word assets folders with assets, like this. Since we've already added our site ID and bearer token, we don't need to touch anything else. Just click send, and after a second or two, boom! We now have all the information about the first 100 assets in our project. As before, you don't need to understand all the details, but it's helpful to know that the response again is in JSON format and it includes the ID of each asset, the original file name, the display name, how it shows up in the designer, and most importantly, the full CDN URL of each image. There's also a list of responsive variants that Webflow automatically generates in the background, smaller versions of the image optimized for different screen sizes and loading conditions. We won't be using those for this effect, but it's still cool to know they exist. Now, just like we did earlier, copy the full response and paste it into the second input field inside the custom tool I built for this tutorial. Again, this tool is available inside the clonable Webflow project linked in the description. Then, click Generate Array, and there it is. A clean, ordered list of URLs. Only the ones inside the frames folder. Ready to power our image sequence scroll effect. But wait, we're not done yet. Remember how I said the API only gives us 100 assets at a time? Well, we have nearly 150, so there's still a chunk of data missing. But no worries, we can fix this in seconds. Back in Postman, click on the Params tab, and in the Query Parameters table, let's add a new row. For the key, let's write offset, and set its value to 100. This tells the API to skip the first 100 items and give us the next batch, from asset 101 to 200. Click send again, and just like that, you get the missing assets. Now, copy this second batch of data, go back to the tool, override the previous JSON in the input field, and click Generate Array once again. The tool will merge the two responsive and update your array accordingly. And that's it. You now have a full, ordered list of image URLs. Straight from Webflow. Zero manual copying, no guesswork. You did it! And now it's time to have some fun. Now that we've generated our array of image URLs, all we have to do is click on it to copy it to the clipboard. But where do we paste it? Let me show you. Let's go back to our Webflow project and head over to the home page. Imagine we want to implement this scroll-based animation right inside the hero section. What we're aiming for is this. As the user scrolls through the hero, the logo, or any animation we've prepared, plays out frame by frame, just like a video, but controlled entirely by scroll. To achieve this, we need a pretty simple setup. Step 1. The section. First, we need a section element on the page. The only really important property here is its height. In this example, it's set to 300 VH, which means it's 3 times the height of the viewport. The taller the section, the slower and smoother the animation will play. The shorter it is, the faster the frames will change. So Feel free to adjust it depending on the feel you're going for. Now, the really important part of this section lives in the element settings panel. You'll see two custom attributes, FC image scrubbing equal component, and this tells our script this is the element that contains the animation canvas, and then we have FC image scrubbing URLs. This is the big one, the one we've been waiting for. Paste the image URL array we just copied into this attribute. No images, no animation, right? So yes, this is absolutely essential. Now, step 2, the main container. Inside the section we have a container. I've used our usual main container class and added a combo class to tweak a few styles. Most importantly, the padding is set to 0. This lets the canvas fill the entire width and height inside the container. The height is set to 100 VH. We want the animated image sequence to always fill the full viewport, and the position is set to sticky with a top offset of 0. This is key. Sticky positioning makes sure the container stays fixed to the top of the screen while we scroll through the section, and only scrolls away when we reach the end of it. This way, the animation appears perfectly fixed in place while it plays out based on scroll. The container doesn't need any attributes. All the attributes we need for the scrubbing effect to work are already applied to the section. So now for the star of the show, the canvas element. But what is a canvas? It's a special HTML element that gives you a drawable surface, like a whiteboard, that you can programmatically draw on with JavaScript. In this case, we'll be drawing our image frames onto the canvas one by one and updating it in real time as the user scrolls. Let's also notice that we set both the width and height to 100% to make sure the canvas takes up all the available space inside the container. To add a canvas in Webflow, simply drop in a custom element. Go to the element settings and set the tag to canvas. Done. You'll also notice that this canvas has an attribute, area hidden true. This is for accessibility. We're not using the canvas in this case to communicate actual content to screen readers. It's purely visual. By making it as area hidden, we're telling assistive technologies to ignore it. And now, step 4, the hidden description. Right underneath the canvas inside the same main container, I've added a paragraph with the class visually hidden. This element is only 1 pixel wide and tall, it's absolutely positioned, and it has overflow hidden. So yes, it's completely invisible, but its content, in this case animated Supasito logo, is readable by screen readers. And why do we do this? Because our canvas is technically the only visible element on screen and it contains a key visual message. To keep our layout accessible, we provide that same message in text form to screen readers via this hidden paragraph. This technique is common in inclusive design and it lets us maintain accessibility without sacrificing creativity. And that's it. We're not adding any extra scripts, any Lottie widgets or custom embeds, just a section, a canvas, a list of image URLs and 2 simple attributes. Now, let's publish the project and open the live link. Start scrolling, and there it is. Frame by frame, our animation plays in perfect sync with the user's scroll. No timeline, no play button, just intuitive, elegant motion. Just like Apple's AirPods page. Pretty cool, right? Now, how does all of this actually work? And more importantly, can we configure it? The answer is yes. And you don't even need to touch the code to do it. Everything is handled by this Webflow component right here, called scrubbing script. It's just a simple embed element that contains all the JavaScript needed to make this effect work. Like I said earlier, you don't need to understand any of it to use it. But I don't really like leaving things unexplained, so here's a quick breakdown of what the code does, without getting too technical. At the top, the script waits for Webflow to finish loading, then looks for 2 elements on the page. The section, or div, with the attribute FCImageScrubbing equal component, and the list of image URLs from the attribute FC image scrubbing URLs. It splits that list into an array and then passes everything into a function called image sequence. This function creates a canvas context, loads all the images, watches the scroll progress using GSAP ScrollTrigger, and draws the correct image onto the canvas on each frame update. It also handles canvas resizing, high DPI screens, and responsive fitting of the images. And yes, the script is fully commented, so if you're curious, you can follow what's going on step by step. That being said, if you want this code to work, because we're using GSAP here, don't forget to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Even though you don't need to modify the code, you can customize the behavior of this effect using a few simple attributes. Let's take a look. At the bottom of the homepage, there's a full list of attributes that we can use to implement or customize this solution. The FC image scrubbing fit controls how each image is sized inside a canvas. You can use contain, which is the default value, and the entire image is visible in this case, possibly with space around it. Or we can pick cover, and in this case the image fills the canvas entirely, possibly cropping parts of it. Then we have FC image scrubbing fit landscape and FC image scrubbing fit portrait. These attributes allow you to define different values based on screen orientation. For example, on desktop, that has a horizontal, so landscape orientation, you might want cover to make the animation feel more immersive. On mobile, so on portrait orientation, you might want contain to avoid oversized elements, and this kind of fine-grained control gives you better visual results on different devices. Then we have FC image scrubbing FPS. This value sets how fast the image sequence would play if it were treated as a real-time animation. It does not affect actual rendering speed, which is tied to scroll, but it is used to define the virtual duration of the sequence. We can say it controls how finely frames are spaced across the scroll range. The default value is 24. Then we have FC image scrubbing start point and FC image scrubbing end point. This let you control when the animation should start and end as you scroll through the section. They follow the same syntax used by ScrollTrigger, like top, so the animation starts when the top of the section hits the top of the screen, or bottom. The animation ends when the bottom of the section hits the bottom of the viewport. Now, a quick note on responsiveness. Let's open the live site again and play with responsive view. You'll notice that the images we're using in this tutorial, while nice, weren't really designed with full responsiveness in mind. I mean, if you look closely, you'll see that the glow around the logo is abruptly cut off, especially on smaller screens. That's not because of the canvas, it's because the video itself, and thus the images, weren't designed with a smooth gradient or background that fades into the edges. But we can still improve things, for example by setting FC image scrubbing fit landscape cover so that the images on desktop fill the screen even if part of it gets cropped. This creates a more immersive effect, as we said. However, if you leave cover active on mobile, the image may become too large, especially if the screen is tall and narrow. And that's why we want the default value of the fit property to be contain. It keeps the entire image visible even if there's a bit of margin around it. It's all about balance, and this is why it's so important to plan your original video carefully. Think about the aspect ratio, the framing, the background, and how the image will behave across devices. And that's it. I hope this gave you both the practical tools and the mental model to understand how this works and maybe even build your own variation of it. Now, time for a quick wrap. We looked at how to recreate the iconic image sequence scroll animation from the AirPods Pro page, how to extract frames from a video and compress them properly, how to use the Webflow API without writing code to retrieve asset URLs, and how to build a fully configurable GSAP ScrollTrigger animation with just a few HTML attributes. Everything you saw today is part of a fully clonable Webflow project, and you'll find all the documentation, tools, and links in the description below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more Webflow tips and tricks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Matane!